What is up, guys? I am back. I know it's been a while, so from now on I'm gonna upload here consistently now since this is my main channel. I'm no longer doing pranks, so yeah, hope you guys are ready for some philosophical related contents. Today we're gonna talk about David Goggins and Sisyphus. Goggins, I believe most of you guys know who he is. You know, he's the guy sometimes known as the guy who runs and screams at people. And also he does a lot of seminar and he does a lot of motivational speech. But you know, he's a practitioner. His story goes much deeper than that. I read both of his book, Never Finished and Can't Hurt Me. He's definitely somebody I look up to. And Sisyphus is a king in the Greek mythology. I'll get to him in a bit. But first, let's talk about David Goggins. I remember when I first read his book. When I look at those paragraphs that describes his childhood, I was just like, how in the world does this guy not end up in jail already? Not to mention all those impossible feats he has accomplished. Retired Navy SEAL, multiple ultra marathon, pull-up record, all that shit. And he's still, you know, going strong. He just turned 50 and he just finished another ultra marathon, 200 mile, bro. That is crazy. He definitely has his own philosophy, because for a person to live like that, if he doesn't have something that he truly believes in or lives by, there is no chance he could keep up with this kind of lifestyle. You might ask, what is the purpose? What's the end goal of all this exercise, all this workout, all this marathon? And David Goggins has his answer, actually.
Seems like a huge part of your process, maybe the entire process, is it's all stick, no carrot. You know, you talk about the carrot, the positive thing, and then there's the stick, the thing you're trying to avoid. The way it's landing for me, it's all stick and gas pedal.
That's it.
There's no carrot. You're not imagining, oh, when I'm a paramedic, when the book is published. Obviously, you set those goals and you make those targets. But it's all stick.
All stick.
No carrot.
Think about that. I'm waking up right now studying like I have a test tomorrow. I already passed the fucking test. Every day of my life. That's what I must do just to retain what I learned. 4 hours plus a day. There's no stick. Or there's only a stick. There's never been a carrot.
So there is no carrot. There's only sticks. And that is really interesting in my eyes. You know why? Because what that reminds me of is precisely the story I'm going to tell you guys. The myth of Sisyphus. Sisyphus is a king in the Greek mythology, known for his cunning wisdom, thirst for knowledge, and he's brave enough to be meddling with the affairs of God. And in return, he got his punishment. He'd been condemned to the underworld of darkness. He was sentenced to be rolling up a boulder to the summit on top of the mountain. However, he will always get fatigued enough to let go of the rock before he reaches the top. And that is his whole punishment. Camus, the French philosopher, has a rather interesting take on this. In his book, The Myth of Sisyphus, he mentioned that one must imagine Sisyphus to be happy. How could somebody who's always in the middle of doing something that's seemingly impossible be happy? How does that make sense? And this is where we're diving to the absurdism by Camus. I imagine everybody in their life has wondered before, does God really exist? Well, the world certainly hasn't given us much to work with. When we ask the question, the world stays silent. That is one of the many absurd conditions of the world. What interested Camus specifically is not the physical part of the rolling up the stone, the rock uphill. What interested him was precisely the part where the rock's rolling down, and when Sisyphus pivot his foot towards the bottom pit. In this part, Sisyphus is conscious. He steps down with heart filled with sorrow, every step measured towards the never-ending torment. And yet, this is not much different from your 9-to-5 job or a job in the office. Just think about your job, your work at the office. You know, you're doing the work. Sometimes you like it, sometimes you hate it. You know, in the end, it's hard-earned money. You know, you're doing something that could be meaningful, could be meaningless, depends on how you look at it. And in the end, when the rock's rolling down, when you came home from work, something pops in your mind. And that something in this case is the consciousness of Sisyphus. Sisyphus is fully aware of the futility of his effort, yet he is the master of his own fate. Sisyphus knows the rock and the climb is all he has. There is no other destiny. There is no God coming to save him. There is no anyone coming for his salvation. This climb and rock is all he has, which means he gets to write the manuscript of his own happiness. When the absurd has been discovered, you became the master of your own fate. And just like sorrow can arise from every step towards the bottom pit, happiness can also arise from the absurd. And now I believe you can see some sort of similarity between the story of David Goggins and the story of Sisyphus, right? They both seems like they have no end goal in their mind. Like, the work seems to be all there is. No carrot, only stick. For Sisyphus, no goal, no destination, only rocks. In my own career, in my own life, I'm adapting this philosophy into my own life as well. Actually focusing on less on the result. Not saying it doesn't matter, it's not important. Of course it is. But to me, if you don't love the work, if you don't love what's in middle of this, what if the result isn't how you expected? What if the most important part of life is the middle part? The process. I think that's what we can take from both of these stories, is the fact that from once in a while we could look around, we could get to contemplate and reflect on what have we been doing, finding joys and finding purpose in the middle part. This is the dream.